And then meanwhile, I'm just sitting there in the theater thinking, what the am I watching right now? Babylon was written and directed by Damien Chazelle, a director who has not missed yet. Whiplash, excellent movie. First Man, great space adventure. La La Land, one of my favorite movies of all time. And I'm saying this unironically, guys. So clearly, anytime this man puts out a new product, I am there first chance I can. And he's assembled quite the ensemble cast, which is anchored by Brad Pitt, Margot Robbie, and Diego Calva. And the plot basically chronicles the rise and fall of several characters during Hollywood's pivotal transition from silent to sound films in the late 1920s. And it shows how actors like the ones played by Brad Pitt and Margot Robbie had to come to that realization and this big change. And it shows how they evolve as performers with that big change. Damien Chazelle really is emerging as one of those can't-miss directors right now. Like I said, first chance I get, anytime I see his name on a project, I gotta see what he does. And guys, man, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, and especially being like an outsider with multiple friends here on the medium loving this movie. I found a lot of flaws with Babylon, unfortunately. Do I think this is a bad movie? Absolutely not. I just feel like in terms of Damien Chazelle's filmography, this is easily the weakest out of the four he's made so far. But let me get through the positives of this movie first, because there's a lot to enjoy about it. Margot freaking Robbie. If she does not win Best Actress at the Oscars, I'll be incredibly shocked. The energy that she's throwing into this performance and the monologues that she gets to dig into. There's one whole scene where she's shooting her first talkie and she has to basically memorize this big gigantic monologue. I cannot tell you how many times as a stage actor in my earlier years of doing it, I cannot tell you how many times I've had to just sit through the monologue and go through it multiple times. It's an extremely relatable moment for me. And Margot Robbie I could not take my eyes off of her. She was outstanding. If she wins the Golden Statue when it's all said and done, don't be surprised. Same thing with Brad Pitt. I would actually assume that he at least gets nominated if his work on Once Upon a Time in Hollywood got nominated. And I actually find his character arc to be the most interesting of the bunch, especially when you see how he ends up. And I don't want to spoil anything, of course, in case you want to go and see this thing. But Brad Pitt, man, he had me laughing on the floor, and he actually got to speak some fluent Italian for once.
Arrivederci. Arrivederci.
And Brad Pitt, I feel like, is just one of those actors who knows what kind of project he's in every single time, and he always brings his best for that project. I think all three of our main actors are excellent. Diego Calva, who I had never seen in a movie before this, man, did he hit a home run. Yeah, he's essentially your audience character who's seeing all this chaos go on right before his eyes, and he's pretty much thrust in the middle of all of it. You know, those kind of old cliches about audience characters being like, what the heck is going on here? Why are you taking these drugs, Margot Robbie? And I think he does well with the material he's given. There's a lot of really famous people in this movie. Samara Weaving has a lot of really great scenes with Margot Robbie. Katherine Waterston plays one of Brad Pitt's character's wives, and she does really good. Tobey Maguire, though. Again, you might have seen Tobey Maguire in the trailer, so this isn't really a spoiler per se for Babylon. He's not in the movie for very long, but I couldn't help but laugh at how off-putting he was. I just sat there incredibly uncomfortable the entire time I saw Tobey Maguire, and I think that's what he was going for. He does wonders in Babylon. Please give Tobey Maguire more work that doesn't involve Spider-Man, Hollywood. That would be amazing. And my word, guys, one thing that I can praise about the direction of this movie, Damien Chazelle is someone who clearly did his homework. Babylon feels like a movie that is incredibly old-fashioned. He's shooting on Kodak film, and the cinematography just looks outstanding on the big screen. It's clear that he really enjoys playing with the aspect ratios and whatnot, and it looks like this was a really fun movie for Damien Chazelle to make. The music as well. Oh my god. Like, everything you heard about Justin Hurwitz's score, absolutely true. If this does not at least get nominated, or better yet, win Best Score at the Academy Awards, that would be a disservice. Because this music is loud, it is energized, it is in your face. It just makes you want to get up and dance on the bar in any normal little pub. The production values of Babylon are undeniable. The costumes, all that good stuff. The music, it's just like, it pops. But yeah, this is probably going to be one of the most polarizing movies of the year, because let's face it, this script might be Damien Chazelle's weakest, in my opinion. First of all, Damien Chazelle has no qualms at all about being incredibly crude in his writing. Pretty graphic content. It's, this movie is very much rated R. Especially when you go through that first party scene within the first 25 to 30 minutes of the movie. Everything that you could possibly think of that's as graphic as you can think of, it's in here. And this is a party scene that you might have seen in the trailers. It is absolute bedlam. And then once the title card finally pops up after about half an hour, I'm not even joking either. That's like, I was shocked that the title didn't pop up until that much later. I feel like after the title card hits, I was really invested in Babylon. But that first half an hour or so, I was like, okay, what the f*** is this movie? What am I supposed to be getting out of this? Some of the craziest exposition scenes that I can remember seeing probably in my entire life. And I feel like if you trimmed that party scene like in half, it probably would have been a lot more manageable. And you probably could have also trimmed out a couple of other smaller plot lines in this gigantic runtime. This movie's over 3 hours long. Really doesn't need to be over 3 hours, guys. The stuff that's being said in the second act going into the third is certainly very poignant stuff. And the character work that Brad Pitt and Margot Robbie get to sink their teeth into, really captivating stuff. But there were just a couple of smaller scenes that I don't really think needed to be in this movie. Now, some of you might argue down in the comments that The Wolf of Wall Street did the same thing. Very chaotic movie. But it feels to me like Wolf of Wall Street was very centrally focused on this one guy and his journey. And I never got bored one time in Wolf of Wall Street. There were a couple of points in Babylon where I was checking my phone. And I was like, okay, how much longer does this movie have? Because it feels like this little plot point is meandering. It feels like we're at this party for way too f***ing long. And yeah, okay, I'm gonna address this part. I didn't know if I was gonna say it on the air, but I'll go ahead and say it. There is, to me, a huge difference between a director showing up and showing off. Case in point, look at Ari Aster with Hereditary. That was him showing up. Midsommar, a big reason why I don't like Midsommar, and it's been well documented on my channel, that felt to me like Ari Aster was showing off. And unfortunately, it just feels to me like Damien Chazelle was showing off a lot of the time. Which he made two excellent masterpieces in the 2010s, Whiplash and La La Land. First Man is an excellent film in its own right, but what killed this for me was the film's ending. I know a lot of my film buff friends absolutely loved this thing. I just couldn't help but sit there and be kind of bewildered. Not at this montage, which is guaranteed to aggravate the photosensitive viewers. But essentially what he's saying is, I'm here to make a difference. There's a difference between saying that and actually doing it to make a difference. And God, I know this ending probably resonates a lot with my friends who really want to get into filmmaking and all that stuff. But again, there's a way that you can inspire people without feeding that director's ego. The Fabelmans just came out a month ago. Steven Spielberg was incredibly humble in that finale. But with the stuff that's being said towards the closing moments of the movie and just the images that were being shown, it really, God, I hate saying this about a director that I really admire, but it really rubbed me the wrong way. And I'm trying not to sit here and be a quote-unquote hater or anything like that. That's just genuinely how I felt. With all that in mind, though, I just am fascinated to watch Babylon again. Maybe this will resonate more with me on repeat viewings, and maybe I'll see something different a few years down the line when I go back and revisit this. But man, guys... Babylon might be one of the zaniest Oscar bait movies to come out in quite some time. Damien Chazelle is throwing his all into this project. Brad Pitt and Margot Robbie give some stellar performances that are bound to be recognized. Even though the technicals of this movie are brilliant, the writing to me kind of left a sour taste in my mouth, which thankfully had nothing to do with any of the substances being used in the early parts of the film. I'm going to give Babylon a B. I'm sorry if this grade kind of disappoints you guys, but That's honestly how I feel. A lot of this felt to me like Baz Luhrmann directing this and showing off like, hey, look how good I am. Like, remember Elvis? A lot of the sequences in this movie reminded me of Elvis. Only the first half of it, though. The second half of Elvis, bam, chef's kiss. But a lot of this movie felt like it was showcasing style over story. This is bound to be one of the most polarizing movies of the year for sure. But guys, this is what it's all about. This is what fun film discussion is all about. Let me know what you thought of Babylon down in the comments section below. I love making these videos. I love talking movies with you guys on a regular basis. So if topics and movies sound like interesting things to you, why not go ahead and become a subscriber? Hit that notification bell right next door, because trust me, going into this new year, you're not going to want to miss a new upload from me. And I've got a lot of exciting reviews in the pipeline for you guys. It's going to be a lot of fun. Y'all are the best. Thank you so much again for tuning in. And with all that being said, Back Talk, commence.